The rain had just stopped when Ethan first saw her. The streets of a quiet seaside town glistened beneath the afternoon sun. Tiny drops of water still clung to the leaves, sparkling like diamonds. People hurried along the sidewalks, eager to return to their routines after the storm. Ethan wasn't paying attention to any of it. At 23, he had just returned home after graduating from university. His father wanted him to take over the family's small bookstore, but Ethan wasn't sure that was the life he wanted. He dreamed of traveling the world, writing novels, and finding something that made his heart race. That afternoon, he walked into a small cafe across from the bookstore. She was sitting alone near the window. Her name was Amelia. She wore a simple blue sweater, and her long brown hair rested gently on her shoulders. She wasn't looking at her phone like everyone else. Instead, she was reading an old novel with complete concentration. Ethan couldn't explain why, but the moment. Their second meeting felt less like a coincidence and more like fate. 3 days after the cafe, Ethan found Amelia sitting on the old wooden pier overlooking the sea. She was sketching the horizon in a small notebook while the waves gently crashed against the weathered posts beneath her feet. "You knew I'd come," Ethan said with a smile. "I hoped you would," Amelia replied without looking up. From that day on, they became inseparable. Every morning, Ethan opened the bookstore while Amelia worked at the local library. During lunch, they met in the town square, sharing sandwiches and laughing over stories from their childhood. In the evenings, they walked along the beach until the stars covered the sky. They talked about everything: their happiest memories, their biggest fears, the future they imagined. Ethan confessed that he dreamed of writing a novel that would touch millions of hearts. Amelia admitted that she wanted a family more than anything in the world. Not a man's. The years passed more quickly than either of them expected. Spring returned to the little seaside town, covering every garden with colorful flowers. Life felt perfect. Ethan's first novel had finally been published. It wasn't a bestseller. It wasn't famous. But Amelia held the very first printed copy in her hands, as if it were the greatest treasure in the world. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. "You believed in me before anyone else did. And I'll believe in you for the rest of my life." A year later, Ethan asked Amelia to marry him. He didn't choose an expensive restaurant. He didn't plan a grand celebration. Instead, he took her back to the old pier where they had first watched the sunset together. The ocean was calm. The sky burned with shades of orange and pink. Ethan reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. His hands trembled. "I've written thousands of words," he said quietly, "but none of them are enough to tell you how much I love you." Amelia's eyes. Ethan stared at the envelope for several seconds. His hands refused to move. Amelia gently pushed it toward him. "You should read it." The room felt strangely quiet. Outside, the waves continued to roll toward the shore as if nothing had changed. Inside, everything had. Ethan slowly unfolded the paper. His eyes searched for the doctor's conclusion. One word froze his heart. "Cancer." He looked up. Amelia was trying to smile. "It'll be okay," she whispered, but her voice betrayed her. For the first time in 30 years, she was afraid. Very afraid. The following weeks became a blur of hospitals, specialists, and long drives to the city. Chemotherapy began almost immediately. The treatments were exhausting. Some mornings Amelia couldn't even get out of bed. Her beautiful brown hair slowly disappeared. One evening she stood in front of the bathroom mirror holding a handful of hair in her fingers. She closed her eyes. Ethan walked in quietly. Without saying a word, Ethan stared at the envelope for several seconds. His hands refused to move. Amelia gently pushed it toward him. "You should read it." The room felt strangely quiet. Outside, the waves continued to roll toward the shore as if nothing had changed. Inside, everything had. Ethan slowly unfolded the paper. His eyes searched for the doctor's conclusion. One word froze his heart. Cancer. He looked up. Amelia was trying to smile. "It'll be okay," she whispered, but her voice betrayed her. For the first time in 30 years, she was afraid. Very afraid. The following weeks became a blur of hospitals, specialists, and long drives to the city. Chemotherapy began almost immediately. The treatments were exhausting. Some mornings Amelia couldn't even get out of bed. Her beautiful brown hair slowly disappeared. One evening she stood in front of the bathroom mirror holding a handful of hair in her fingers. She closed her eyes. Ethan walked in quietly, without saying a word. The house felt emptier after she was gone. Not silent, because life still existed inside it. The clock still ticked. The wind still knocked against the windows. The sea still roared in the distance. But something invisible was missing. Ethan would wake up in the morning and forget, for just a second, that Amelia wasn't there anymore. Then reality would return. And it always hurt the same way. Lily stayed longer after the funeral. She tried to keep the house alive, cooking meals, cleaning, talking about memories. One evening, she found her father sitting in the bookstore. The same wooden chair. The same desk. The same window where he had written his first novel. But Ethan wasn't writing. He was just staring at a blank page. "Dad?" Lily said softly. He didn't respond immediately, as if her voice came from far away. "I don't know what to write anymore," he finally admitted. Lily sat beside him. "You don't have to write the same way again." Ethan shook his head. "It's—" The world around them felt unchanged. The sea still moved in its endless rhythm. The wind still carried the scent of salt and memory. But for Ethan, everything had shifted. Because for the first time in years, he wasn't carrying grief alone. Amelia stood up slowly and extended her hand. "Come with me," she said softly. Ethan hesitated. Not because he didn't want to, but because part of him didn't trust what he was seeing. "What is this?" he asked quietly. Amelia looked toward the horizon. "Do you remember what I told you at the hospital?" Ethan nodded. "Love doesn't disappear. It changes where it lives," she finished. The air around them shimmered faintly, like light passing through water. Ethan looked down at his hands. They were younger than they had been yesterday. His wrinkles were fading. The weight in his body, lighter. He looked back at her. "And you?" Amelia smiled. "I've always been here." Ethan's voice broke. "All this time. I thought I'd lost you." Ethan sat on the wooden bench by the sea, watching the calm waves roll in. For the first time in many years, he was not in pain. There was only silence inside him now, and a quiet sense of peace. He had lived a long life. He had loved deeply. He had lost the person who meant everything to him. But he never stopped loving her, not even for a single day. Sometimes, when the wind moved across the shore, he still felt her presence beside him. Not as something unreal, but as a feeling that never left his heart. He thought about everything they had shared, the cafe where they first met, the long walks by the sea, the house filled with laughter, and the life they built together. It all felt far away now, and yet still close. As his eyes slowly closed for the last time, he no longer felt sadness, only warmth. And in that final moment, he felt her hand in his once again. Soft, familiar, forever. And he smiled, because he finally understood. Love does not end with death. It